Whether new shooter, longtime gun owner, or even police officer or soldier, your handgun needs a Crimson Trace laser sight or light. Get the confidence and reliability you need to protect family, home, and country. Crimson Trace.
This week on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, Tom's talking hunting in the wintertime, unique handguns and ammo, new releases, and more. All that plus what's on your holiday wish list. To join Tom on the air, call 1-866-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom Gresham.
All righty. Guess what? It is Gun Talk. I'm Tom Gresham. Glad that you are here today. No, we're not doing what's good for the holidays. That's okay. But we are talking about some news, some things that's going on. I'll tell you that big news this week in the world of gun rights, and we'll be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about, well, shooting, IDPA, USPSA competition shooting. We're going to have an expert who can take a youngster and in a couple of weeks have him or her go from shooting BB guns to breaking 15 out of 25 on a skeet field. First time they ever see a clay target. Amazing success rate there. Also, we're going to be talking with a Second Amendment attorney and frankly, what it's like to be an attorney in the Second Amendment realm and what you can learn from that. Obviously, we'll be taking your calls, your questions, your comments, and all the time, always looking for your range reports. What'd you take out to the range? What'd you shoot? Guns, ammo, optics. What do you like? What are you not liking right now? Not liking that big kicking gun? Okay, that's fine. 44 Magnums are fun for a while, but after a while you go, ow, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't feel so good. It hurts to shoot those. Yeah, it does. That's generally 2 to 4 cylinders is about what most people can take when shooting full-blown 44 Magnum. It's just, hey, it's a lot of recoil. Just is. So there you go. Let's see. Just thinking about some of the stories out there. In Congress, we've had another measure introduced for national reciprocity. That would be if you have a concealed carry permit in your state, it would be good in any state. We'll see if that goes somewhere. That might work. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even sure if has even a chance of going anywhere. Just don't know. We'll just see how that works out. Our number here is 866-TALK-GUN, 866-TALK-GUN. That's how you get us, of course. All you have to do is just give us a shout. Tell you what, when we come back, we're going to be talking a good bit more about, well, the news of the day and what's going on this week. Big news coming from an important court case. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
Making news 30 years ago, the modern internet made strides when 5 supercomputers were linked to form a network. It was the same year ArmScore entered the U.S. market. What a coincidence. Why not use the internet to celebrate? Get big online discounts and rebates on the world's #1 selling 1911s from Rock Island Armory and quality ammunition from ArmScore. Get yours at armscore.com/guntalk. ArmScore, USA strong for 30 years.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. shopguntalk.com.
You already know Liberty Safes are great values. Now they're offering an even sweeter deal for Gun Talk listeners. At LibertySafe.com, click on the Fat Boy Safe and type in Tom. Liberty will give you up to $250 off your purchase. Protect the things you value most. LibertySafe.com, click the Fat Boy Safe, promo code Tom, save up to $250. That's LibertySafe.com. LibertySafe.com.
Brownells proudly celebrates 75 years of history and heritage as the world's first choice for firearms, accessories, ammunition, and gunsmithing tools. So whether you're a gunsmith in need of parts and supplies, a new shooter looking for the perfect holster, or a skilled competitor seeking the latest gear, Brownells has what you need. And best of all, every purchase comes with the industry's only forever satisfaction guarantee. Visit us at Brownells.com.
866 Talk Gun gets you in here. Big news coming out of an important court case. Joining me right now to talk about that, the man who put this together. Every time you have Alan and Alan together, Alan Gottlieb and Alan Gura, you know you got a dynamic duo there. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms joins us right now. Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. I guess you could say I'm on cloud 9 millimeter.
9 millimeter, I like it. Well, I guess, you know, a lot of people know what happened, but most people, I would guess, probably did not hear the news because the media didn't really cover it, not that I would expect them to. So I guess start from the beginning and explain this court case.
Well, let me start. First of all, you talked about the media not covering it. We got really great coverage from the gun media and from, talk radio and from conservative websites. But Associated Press, the New York Times, the Washington Post, which had a direct interest in this case, as it involved plaintiffs in D.C. as well, ABC, CBS, NBC, everybody, all the dominant liberal media totally 100% ignored it. And I think they did it because we won. Anyway, what the case was about, was we had sued the federal government over the provisions in the 1968 Gun Control Act that say that you have to be a resident of a state that to buy a handgun in that state. You can't buy a handgun out of state if you're not a resident of that state. And we sued on that, and it was a very important case to me, particularly because when I first started all this 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, Tom, one of my goals was to take out part of the 68 Gun Control Act, which has been very difficult to do. And we finally have done it. And we filed
let me back up. Alan, let me explain the current law and what it, because some people may not be aware. You can, as a resident of, say you're a resident of Oregon, you can go to Nevada and you can buy a shotgun and take delivery of it, and you can drive it back to your state. That's perfectly legal. You cannot, however, go to another state and buy a handgun. That gun has to get shipped to a dealer in your state, and then you do the background check in that state. But the weird part is it's the exact same federal background check, isn't it?
It exactly is. Now that we have the instant NICS system, so to speak, it's the same background check, same database. There's no difference. And so why in the world, is this law in place? The government can show no compelling or any kind of public interest that this provides public safety or anything. And as a result, we won. The important part of the ruling is not that we so much won and took out this law. Judge signed an injunction saying the federal government, can't enforce this law. But the big victory of this was that the judge ruled that you had to use strict scrutiny in this particular case. And the government had to really show there's an overwhelming, compelling government interest, which they couldn't do. And one of the things we've been pushing for, of course, is this standard of review. We all want the strict scrutiny rulings because that gives us the most protection for our Second Amendment rights. And, of course, the two Supreme Court cases we've had, McDonald and Heller, basically didn't use any standard of scrutiny. It just based it under any standard. Those laws were unconstitutional. We need to have codified in law the strict scrutiny standard so that the government is held to the most absolute compelling arguments to be able to try and deny anybody's rights. And we won it in this case, and the judge gave us that.
Okay, so we have this case in federal court in Texas, but clearly we have to assume this is going to be appealed at least to some level. Would that be a fair assumption?
Well, we're making the assumption that the government, Eric Holder, this is a great goodbye present, by the way, for Eric Holder leaving Justice Department. But, the Obama administration, obviously, we don't think is going to let go of this. So we assume it's going to get appealed. I'm actually surprised that it hasn't been a notice of appeal yet or a motion as well for the judge to stay his injunction against it, at least until it is appealed. The government hasn't acted yet, but we do expect them to do so.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Eric Holder, in a recent interview, he said one of his great regrets of his term as Attorney General is that he was not able to pass gun control laws, which tells you where his priorities are.
Right, which makes me feel extra good about this suit because it was Mance versus Holder, and Eric Holder not only didn't advance his agenda, we've actually taken some gun control laws off the books, and I love that.
Okay, so as of now, with this ruling, I mean, it doesn't change anything. A gun store in Texas right now could, but probably is not going to sell a handgun to someone who comes there from Iowa simply because they've been told for the last 40-plus years you can't do that.
Yeah, the dust has to settle a little bit here, and we assume that, ATF will put out some type of a bulletin to gun dealers saying that the law has been struck down and they can now do it, and here's the way you do it. But again, with the government going to appeal it, everything's in flux. The ATF is not moving very quickly, and the Justice Department is probably going to have to move first, and they haven't moved yet. So it's still in flux, but we have a win here. And the more important thing is I'm 100% convinced at the appeals court level, we win again.
Okay. Now, this does not come by itself. This does not pop out of thin air. This case comes as a result of other cases which have come before. And I think this is a good time for us to return to the strategy of stepping stones with these cases. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, you've got to build case law and build upon case law to move the court system in the direction you want it to go. And so, initially here you had the first major thing was the Heller case, which established the individual right to keep and bear arms. And then you had the McDonald case, which incorporated it through the 14th Amendment, knocking out the Chicago gun ban, but then, incorporating it to the 14th Amendment so it's applicable to all states and cities for all gun laws, which allowed us to really open up the court system big time to sue. Now, under this one, we only really needed the Heller decision, so to speak, because we're in federal court challenging a federal law. But each time you have to build on it. Example, in this case, what the judge used as in his rulings was he used stuff out of Heller, he used stuff out of McDonald, he used stuff out of the Zell versus Chicago suit the Second Amendment Foundation filed, he used stuff out of Moore versus Madigan, which overturned the ban on carry in Illinois that the Second Amendment Foundation filed. And so he has to be able to go to give other sites. And each time you try to move it more in our direction and take out a piece of fruit hanging higher on the tree, so to speak, you need to make sure that you've got case law to help boost you up that ladder. And that's how we're working this out.
You've got a saying that you put out. You said, winning back gun rights one lawsuit at a time. Is that where the real strength of SAF and the Citizens Committee lies?
Well, yeah, it's winning firearms freedom one lawsuit at a time. And again, just to click off a couple of them, you've got, the McDonald case, you got Bateman in North Carolina, Ezell in Chicago, Moore in Illinois, Richards in California, Sylvester in California. So we've got, cases we've won in Nebraska and New Mexico, and you keep adding these to the pile, and that's what allows us to keep filing the next case and having a better chance of winning the next case. The other thing, Tom, it really does is it weaves a web so that in the future, if the U.S. Supreme Court decided they wanted to overturn a Heller or a McDonald, they have a problem because you have all this other case law all across the country based on all kinds of things, and we weaved a web of all kinds of Second Amendment decisions, and you can't, for them to unravel the ball, to pull one string and let everything unravel makes it very difficult for the Supreme Court. So we're giving gun owners a protection as well against future attacks at the Supreme Court level if people like Obama get more appointees to the court.
And of course, and that's one of the things is, and look, we've talked about this before. I know that there are times when Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee, they work hand in hand with the NRA. And sometimes when the NRA, they're heavily into the legislation and they do some litigation. And I would offer that you do some legislation, but you're heavily into the litigation. Would that be a kind of a fair, broad overview?
Well, for the Second Amendment Foundation, we don't do legislation because we're a 501c3 tax-exempt foundation and we're not allowed to. So we do public policy research, we do litigation, we do research and publishing. The Citizens Committee does a lot of lobbying. In this case, it was the actual plaintiff but the Second Amendment Foundation funded the case. And there was a legal reason why it was the plaintiff. To be perfectly candid about it, we had a case filed from the Second Amendment Foundation a few years back known as Lane versus Holder in Washington, D.C. Over the same issue, and we lost not on merits but on standing. And the federal government argued that we didn't have standing to bring the suit. In Washington, D.C., it's very, very difficult to get standing to sue the government. In other federal districts, it's not. But we already had a bite at the apple for the Second Amendment Foundation, so the Citizens Committee became the plaintiff as a clean plaintiff, even though staff funded it, and we took it as a jurisdiction where we knew we could get, standing, and we won. And, of course, the government made a very big mistake tactically. They figured because we lost the case in Lane that they'd be able to knock us out on standing, and as a result, they spent most of their time and effort arguing standing rather than the merits of the case, and they got smashed.
All right, let me go in a different direction for a second, because all of a sudden, once again, and we've been following this for many years, I see news, and big air quotes around the word news stories popping up all over the country about the Violence Policy Center's study, quote-unquote study, about gun violence. And whenever I get a chance to talk to a reporter, I say, you do understand that the Violence Policy Center is a gun ban group. You wouldn't run a story from the NRA, for instance, as a straight news story and base editorials off of that. Well, of course not. What is it about the Violence Policy Center, and basically who are these guys?
Well, first of all, it's not just the Violence Policy Center. The media takes stuff from all the anti-gun groups like it's gospel and runs with it because basically they support the agenda of the anti-gun groups is why they do it.
Right.
That's why when the Second Amendment Foundation puts out a study, it's very difficult to get it in the New York Times, so to speak. The Violence Policy Center is not a very big group. It's not all that well funded, but it's creative. And it works very, very diligently and hard to get it, whatever it does, into the media so that it gets attention. But it's probably one of the cutting edge groups on the other side. But these days it's getting surpassed, and so it's like the Brady Center. They're all falling away to some extent because Bloomberg is sucking out all the oxygen on the anti-gun movement side with all those millions of dollars he's putting into the cause.
Yep, exactly. And to be fair, what the Violence Policy Center, VPC, does is they are a media attention group. They're not a membership organization. I would be surprised if they have a dozen employees or people that work in there. But what they do successfully is they get stories planted in the media. That's kind of their strength, would you say? Yeah,
they definitely have less than a dozen employees by a long shot. But they come up with one or two, key projects every few months that they use to push their agenda and give ammunition to anti-gun politicians to push legislation. So they've been fairly effective over the years. A good example is, quite frankly, the whole assault weapon ban. They put out years ago a study on quote-unquote assault weapons and basically talked about how you need to label semi-automatic firearms as assault weapons. People will be confused with that and think they're machine guns, and it'll be easier for us to ban them. And they were very much behind the Clinton, assault weapon ban, so to speak, based upon that. And the media picked up on that and ran with it, knowing that it was fraudulent to begin with, that it was a bait and switch, technique that they were using. They were upfront about it, but the media didn't talk about that. The media just ran with it.
Yep, exactly. And that's, like I say, that's what they do is they put stories into the media and, and they looked at it and said, look, the public doesn't know the difference between semi-automatic and full automatic. We can confuse them. And they were actually very open about it. Said, we understand that this is fraudulent, but we're going to get away with it. And they did. They basically convinced a lot of the media and a lot of the public that so-called assault weapons, semi-automatic guns, were actually machine guns. And that's how we got the 94 Clinton gun ban, which thankfully sunsetted. So, all right, let's spin forward now. We have this very good case here. And I know you're working on other things. Would it be fair to say that at least in litigation, we're making some headway on regaining gun rights, freedoms?
Yeah, we definitely are, Tom. I look at it this way. If we file a case and we lose it, we don't really lose anything. All that stays in place is the status quo. We didn't lose ground. If we win it, we gain ground. And so on the litigation side, unlike the legislative side where you can also lose, and if you lose, you lose rights. The litigation side, what's happening is we're moving in the right direction. We're getting rid of bad laws, but no new bad laws turn into effect because of our suits. So we've been really moving very, very well. And, of course, we have a pretty good track record right now with a significant number of wins over the last several years. And each one's building on more. And we got like 30 cases right now filed in federal courts across the country that we're working on. Our litigation budget is running between $80,000 and $90,000 a month right now.
What's it cost? Give me a spitball ballpark figure. What's it cost to run one of these cases to however long it goes?
Well, see, this is the problem. It's hard to answer that because, one, the goal is the Supreme Court did just end at the district court level. Did the jurisdiction we're suing try to run up the clock by filing extra crazy, frivolous motions to try and drain our resources? Does a judge sit on it for a long time, like in our victory in the Palmer case in Palmer versus D.C., that allowed carry in D.C.? I mean, it took us over 5 years to get a district court ruling. The more time it takes, the more motions get filed, the more the clock runs up. So I really can't say with that. I mean, we spent over $400,000, and because we're very judicious with spending our money. We're very careful about it.
Sure.
We spent over $400,000 in the McDonald victory. However, some of our victories, we've won for like $20,000. So, and we have like the Ezel case in Chicago that we've won on Ezel 1, and now we're involved in the Ezel 2, so to speak, against the city for some of their new anti-gun ordinances there. That one might come up closer to $800,000 or $1 million by the time we're done. So it really depends. Holy
cow. Well, and I know it's expensive. I know, you're working on all these cases, and I guess that's kind of the call out. Say, look, I would ask people, get involved, throw some money at it, help out, join SAF or Citizens Committee. This is where a lot of the real work is being done. Alan, would you keep us posted on the progress of this case?
Hey, it'd be my pleasure. Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
All righty. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. And, of course, in this case, it was the Citizens Committee that brought this lawsuit. What this means is, as it stands, this ruling is that the provision of the 1968 Gun Control Act that says you cannot go to another state and buy a handgun from a dealer, he says, no, that's unconstitutional. You cannot have that. If you can go buy a long gun in another state, you should be able to buy a handgun. There's no difference. There's no difference to society. And, of course, you're undergoing the same FBI background check no matter where you buy it. Logical, makes sense. All right, 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some wing shooting, how to teach youngsters to shoot very quickly from a guy who really knows how to do it, and how possibly you can learn something about hitting flying targets with a shotgun or a BB gun.
Have you taken your family, friends, and kids shooting lately? You're listening to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, and we'll be right back. Want to be a guest on the show? Drop us a line at info@guntalk.com. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
Welcome back to Gun Talk. Tom Gresham here. 866-TALK-GUN. Get you in. Tom@guntalk.com is the email if you'd like to shoot me a note that way. Of course, we have our giveaway going on. We're giving away, we like to give away guns around here. Springfield Armory giveaway. If you go to guntalk.com/win, you can enter for a chance to win. Let's see. What are we giving away this month? Johnny, we're giving away a Springfield Armory, the new XD Mod 2, 3.3-inch 45 ACP. Yes, the brand new 45 ACP. Your choice, black or bi-tone. And then each week we're giving away range bag, glass pitcher, pint set, some other stuff. Go to guntalk.com/win and see what it's all about. And you can enter for a chance to win. Also, of course, we have the second season of First Person Defender, our exciting video series. It's up on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/guntalktv. Would you like to be a better shooter, like to be a better wing shot? Seems that a lot of people, they can master a rifle. Sometimes they can master a handgun, but wing shooting drives them nuts. Hitting a flying target with a stream of BBs. Well, there's a guy down in Texas who's been teaching this for many, many years and has remarkable success using a technique that he put together that's, it's crazy simple and intuitive. And when you look at it, you go, yeah, that makes sense. Leon Measures joins us right now from Shoot Where You Look. Hey, Leon, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You bet. Now, how long have you been doing Shoot Where You Look?
since 1940.
Well, when somebody asks you what it is, how do you explain this? It seems like a simple concept, but I know a lot of thought went into it.
Well, it was more or less, what should I say, impressed on me. Somebody gave me a BB gun that had a sight missing. I was about 7 at the time. Took it to an old gentleman that normally fixed our toys, and he took the other side off, handed it back to me, and said, "You don't need sights on a BB gun." And I learned to shoot it by watching the BB.
You could see the BB, because back then, that's right, back then we had spring-powered BB guns, and they weren't very powerful, and so you could actually see the BB in flight.
Correct. And, of course, being 7 years old helped a lot, too.
True. I understand that.
My arms got shorter. Well, all our arms get shorter. But at any rate...
and that's right, and you can't see as well.
Well, we see better when we're young, you know. But at any rate, all the time I shot that sightless BB gun, Tom, I was a little embarrassed by it and ashamed of it, because the other boys had 2 sights and I didn't have any. Until the day I picked up my first shotgun and found out how truly blessed I had been. Because if you can hit a crossing tennis ball from 25 feet away, 25 feet at the peak of its arc, with a single BB, you're pretty well awesome in the bird field with a shotgun. And it wasn't long.
Well, and I know that when you're teaching the use of this BB gun for aerial targets, you could take a youngster and have them hitting quarters in no time, and eventually, literally, I mean, this is going to sound weird, literally throwing up a BB and shooting it with a BB.
Well, would you agree that the center of every target's exactly the same size?
Yes.
Well, what difference it make? What difference what the size of the target is if you shoot it in the middle?
Now, the reason that I understand this is because I grew up doing the exact same thing, and I got to where it was absolutely nothing to throw up a quarter or a nickel and hit it every time with a BB gun, because I was blessed to grow up in a place where I could shoot unlimited numbers of BBs and watch the arc and exactly what you're talking about. So I know exactly what you're saying, but explain, if you would, the transition from this BB gun to shotguns. Why does that work?
Well, the best, best I could say is, number one, up until very, very recently, we didn't have much of a chance of building a BB gun, or a training tool, as we prefer to call it. It's slow enough for you to see the BB in the air, and yet accurate enough to do what we do. But thankfully, we're on the right track now and should have that problem solved before very long.
So you're going to have your own BB gun. You're going to be making your own BB gun.
Yes, sir. And that's after 12 years of searching the world over to find one that had the right combination, and apparently not. We're going to build this, Tom, in the U.S., every part and piece of it.
I love it.
And I won't go into the details, but sometime in about 6 months from now, I hope we can get you to announce this, that we have them. But anyway.
Now, all right, go ahead. I wanted to fast forward you to, because you're going to take a group down to South America, right?
Yes, sir, to Argentina, the end of March. Be March the 30th through April the 3rd. And the wife and I are going. And for those who would need it, we'll be glad to coach them a little bit in a Brazilian target so that they shoot all they want to. And
so this is a dove shoot in Argentina with a top wing shooting coach, Leon Measures. That's not too bad.
Well, what I've done, Tom, is I've put together some things that you or anybody else can do prior to getting down to a high-volume shoot.
Okay.
See, I see fellas, well, I have them come to my seminar, and they're going to Argentina. They hadn't picked up a shotgun since the last season closed. And they're expecting to go down there and shoot 500 to 1,000 times a day, and they do very well the first day. But the next morning, they can't even brush their teeth.
Yeah, I can't pick their arms up. So what do we have to do to get ready for a shoot like that?
Get your heaviest shotgun you own. Make sure it's completely empty and safe. Get in front of a full-length mirror.
Okay.
Look at your nose. Push that shotgun away slightly. Pull it back to your cheek, shoulder, in that order, and dismount it. And do it as many times as you can until it becomes cumbersome. If you're doing it this evening, if you hadn't picked up a shotgun or mounted any kind of a gun in the last 2 or 3, 4 months, you won't mount it but 5 or 6 times, and you decide you need to do something else. So if you do it this evening, and then in the morning, you mount it as many times as you can until it becomes cumbersome. Put it down and add a repetition every time you feel like it until you get to where you can mount that gun 100 times in, 20, 30 minutes. Just
well, what you're really doing is you're doing 2 different things. One is you are practicing your gun mount, and people don't understand that you do need to practice your gun mount. But the other is you're actually doing a workout for your arms.
That's right, because you use a set of muscles on the front and back of your arms to mount that gun and develop the finesse it takes to shoot it by doing it, but those muscles aren't used in that sequence for anything else. You see?
Interesting. So you're getting yourself in shape for hunting.
I'm sorry?
You're getting yourself in shape for hunting and I can tell you from experience, I went down there and like third day, I can see the birds. In my head, I can swing the gun. I know where I need to be, but the arms are so leaden, I can't get the gun up and get on them in time.
Well, you could have started a month before and kept doing that if you wanted to, you see.
If I'd been smart enough to.
Well, anyway,
all right.
The next thing is to learn to look at part of one bird. That cannot be over-impressed on a fella going where there's going to be 1,000 birds in your field of vision. If you're focused on the eyeball of one bird, all the rest of them are out of focus, and your head don't have to fool with them.
Yep, exactly. Leon, listen, I'm going to have to run. Let me do this. Let's give out the website. People can get more information on what you're doing, and maybe if they want to sign up and go down to Argentina with you, they can do that also.
Okay, sir. It's simply shootwhereyoulook.com.
Shootwhereyoulook.com. Leon measures. This program works. I have seen it work. It's been working for decades. Check it out. It's a great program, not just for you, for your youngsters, anybody who wants to get involved in wing shooting. It's a terrific program, and if you ever want to go to Argentina and have a bunch of fun, this would be a super time. Leon, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know you're going to have a great trip. I appreciate that. All righty, 866-TALK-GUN. That is the number. It's open lines. You got a gun you want to talk about, a range report you want to offer, or maybe you just are wondering, how can you be a better shot? Well, call me. We'll work it out. 866-TALK-GUN.
There's a rise in home invasions in America, and you need to be ready. Ready to protect yourself and your family. The bedside backup from Crossbreed Holsters keeps your gun at your bedside, ready to go. It also folds flat for easy storage and travel. Take it with you and use with any hotel bed. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com. The bedside backup is not a child safety device.
Introducing your new best friend in home defense, Guard Dog from Federal Premium Ammunition. With low recoil and reliable feeding, Guard Dog is all the protection you need. Guard Dog features a patented full metal jacket construction with an expanding polymer which minimizes overpenetration through interior walls. This dog's got bark and bite. Protect your home and family with Guard Dog Home Defense from Federal Premium Ammunition.
TopGunSupply.com carries a large selection of fine firearms and accessories. Get all the parts you need for your Sig Sauer, HK, and Glock pistols. Grips, screws, recoil springs, sights, barrels, magazines, holsters. The list goes on. Our knowledgeable sales staff, professional service, great prices, and super fast shipping are here to help you. Check us out today. TopGunSupply.com. TopGunSupply.com.
need a little help here. If anybody out there works for Twitter, help. I got a new phone this week and suddenly cannot contact Twitter on any of my devices. So if you've been wondering, why hasn't Tom posted anything to his Twitter account? Because I can't get on it. I spent 7 hours this morning working on it so far. No joy. We'll see. We may take the phone and everything, take the whole passel of all the gear into the Apple Genius bar, I guess, and see if we can't get one of the geniuses to figure it out. But as of right now, can't get there. And the thing that frustrates you, and this is just the way we are now, and this is the world we're in. When you go to Twitter, there's no way to call anybody. There's no way to email anybody. They just have a little form. You fill it out. And I think it goes off to the moon because, for 6 days I've been sending messages and have not heard anything back from them at all. Okay. I feel better now. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Thank you. I get questions, and it's interesting. They go all over the place. What's the right gun for self-defense? How do I carry a gun? What's a barbecue gun? This came up this week. Barbecue gun. Have you ever heard of that? Well, first of all, you would need to be in a state where open carry is legal, generally. And a barbecue gun is a fancy handgun, generally, or a good-looking gun. Something you would wear to a semi-dress occasion, if you will. Do you have a barbecue gun? Have you ever gotten one and thought, yeah, this would be a really nice barbecue gun? Yes. I agree. I think the GT20 would be a great barbecue gun. I think the GT10 was a good barbecue gun. The new GT20 that we're offering. That's, by the way, if you don't know, the GT20 stands for GUNTALK 20. 20 years on the air for GUNTALK Radio. It's a limited edition version of SIG's new P220 in 10 millimeter. I spec'd it all out. It's single action only, fiber optic front sight, adjustable rear sight, ambidextrous safety, rail on it so you can put a light, laser, whatever you want to put on there, and some really nice G10 grips, specially designed for us. If you want to take a look at it or maybe get an order in, because we're only going to take orders until the end of March. And we'll cut it off earlier if we hit 1,000, but it's limited to no more than 1,000 guns. You can go to DurysGuns.com, D-U-R-Y-S, DurysGuns.com. You can take a look at it. Let me know what you think. If you've looked at it online, I'd love to get your take on it, what you thought of it. Like it, hate it, wish it were something else. Call me. I will talk about it on the air, 866 Talk Gun. But do you have a barbecue gun? Have you ever bought one and thought, this is just so gorgeous, I have to get this gun? And here's a question. If you had a barbecue gun, and if you were invited to a barbecue, assuming you're not drinking, okay, I mean, we'll just put that aside. Let's take care of that right now. And you're going to wear your good-looking handgun, revolver or autoloader, would you ever wear Kydex? Or must a barbecue gun go into a good-looking leather-type holster? Leather being cow, horse, shark, ostrich, something along those lines. Can Kydex ever be appropriate for a barbecue gun? My initial sense is no. I mean, it should be a good look. It should be leather. It should be traditional. But then again, hey, that's me. I like leather. I like traditional. Now, I'd use Kydex holsters a lot, but they're generally out of sight. Not out of mind, but out of sight. But if I wanted to wear something that looks good, basically it's my dress holster, my dress gun, if you will, my accessory. It's guy jewelry, or it could be gal jewelry in this case. I'm thinking leather, and also a really nice, good leather gun belt. Not a regular belt, gun belt. Got to have gun belt. So what's your thought? What would be a good barbecue gun? You ever have one? Do you have one? Do you ever say, this is my barbecue gun? Let me know. 866 Talk Gun gets you in here. When we come back, Benny, Rick, Gary, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you guys. Be back in a minute with more Gun Talk.
You don't have to agree with Tom to participate in the show. Call now with any of your concerns about guns, gun rights, or particular firearms, or suggestions for your shooting activity or personal protection. 1-866-825-5486. Gun Talk is coming right back.
right, going straight to the phones. Line 3, Benny's with us out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Benny, you're on Gun Talk.
Well, good afternoon, Tom. Well, of course, the barbecue gun that I have has to go in the leather because Kydex stinks for that purpose. But
okay.
That's not why I was calling to pester you this afternoon.
Go for it.
I've been reading a couple of articles, and one I read from the NRA ILA stating that the BATFE is looking to ban the sale, importation, possession, or use of the SS-109 M855 rounds, commonly known as the 62-grain green tip. They apparently something has changed and they no longer like it. But I wanted to get your take on that. And, you know, it seems to me that if they can't get the guns, they're going to get the ammo.
Certainly. Let me back up for those that haven't followed the story. This just broke this week. The BATFE, our ATF, has said that some of the most popular ammo, widely available ammo for the 223 for your AR-15, they're going to ban it because they're going to now label it as armor piercing. Now, it has been specifically listed as not being armor piercing before, and now they're saying, yeah, but now it is armor piercing. One of the factors is the popularity, I'm guessing now, the popularity of AR-15 pistols, because you can have ammo that's appropriate in a rifle, but when you put it into a pistol, they say, well, there's a rule about, or a law about armor piercing, so quote-unquote cop killer bullets. Anything you shoot at a cop, I think, is a cop killer bullet. So what's really going on here, and you understand, Benny, what's really going on, is what you have is the Obama administration saying do everything you can to limit every way that people can get guns, can get ammo, can get access to them, throw every roadblock you can, get the FDIC to clamp down on banks that are making loans or doing business with gun stores, shut down their credit, do everything you can. And I'm going to go back, because I got a long memory, to all those people some 6 years ago who said it doesn't really matter if Barack Obama gets elected president because he can't pass any gun control laws by himself because he'd have to get them through Congress. To which I said, he doesn't have to get a single gun control law passed. All he has to do is put pressure on the agencies. And you understand, here's the thing. An agency regulation is a law. Now, it's not a law that got passed through Congress, but it has the weight of law. And it has criminal penalties, the same as law, and nobody votes on them. So they say that ammo was perfectly legal today, and tomorrow it's perfectly illegal. And nobody votes on it. They just say it is, and it is. That's what it's about. It's about whoever's in the White House having control over all these agencies. Now, what's going to happen on this one, I don't know. I know that NRA is working on this. I know that there are other people working on it that might be able to get this stopped somehow through Congress, through funding, through some other way. But it's tough because ATF comes in. And here's the problem. This is a public relations problem. I always spin back to how is the public going to perceive things, because the public opinion drives public policy. They're going to say this is ammo designed for killing police officers, for shooting through body armor, and we're going to be in the position of saying, no, this is perfectly fine ammo. And they're going to say, oh, so you're for cop killer bullets. They're pretty good at putting those terms on it. Be prepared for that. Have your information pulled together, because this is just simply old ammo. And the thing that most people don't understand in the public is that almost any rifle can shoot through soft body armor. Every police officer understands that. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we come back. 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham.
No black helicopters here, just the facts about gun rights and gun ownership. This is Gun Talk.